is Harriet Pacey, Director at Tops Day Nurseries, a chain with childcare settings in Hampshire, Dorset and the Isle of Wight. Harriet, good morning to you. Could you talk to me a little bit about where your business is at the moment with regards to whether you've increased costs and what your clients are saying?
Morning, Alan. Thanks for having me on the show. Where we are at the moment is in a bit of a tricky situation as we kind of come towards April. And this is one of the big points I've been trying to make politically at the moment, is that April is our absolute D-Day crunch point, because for years we've been faced with, the increases in national minimum wage and the living wage, which is, fantastic for our workforce. But the compounding effects of that now, combined with all the higher business rates, the energy that's going on, food prices, we just can't afford it anymore. And in April, our funding, what we get paid, for these 3 hours, only increases by, 3 to 5%. When you compare that to inflation, we can't put more on our private parents, and we're just being squeezed so much that come April, there'll be so many closures across the sector because they just won't be able to afford to stay open.
So for those people who are not familiar with the sector, your point is, if we hear the Chancellor say, I'm increasing the availability of places, but if he doesn't increase the amount of money that's given to companies like Tops Day Nurseries, you believe that a wave of them will close because there's no money in it. It's just not financially not viable.
Yeah, it turns, I wouldn't say us in particular, because we have a model where we are actively subsidising from more affluent settings to cross over into our deprived. But to put into context, the Freedom of Information request in 2021 showed that the funding rates that we're being paid for the so-called free childcare offer are actually paid at only 2/3 of what the government deemed, estimated it was going to cost to fund the scheme. And they actively said that as part of their model, they were expecting private parents to take up the bill. So, when you have providers that are, in more deprived areas who don't have many private fee-paying parents and their income is only the funding, that leaves a giant hole in the accounts, and you're seeing closures. So at Tops, over a third of our settings would not be viable to be run independently. And if we weren't the B Corp with, social value and being inclusive of one of our, what things running through our ethos, we would have closed those settings by now. It's like I said, it's those affluent settings that are balancing it for us and paying for the settings that are predominantly funded.
And you can see the point of parents. They're doing some basic maths and thinking, well, if it's going to cost me, one lady said there, if it's going to cost me £17,500 a year, and I look at my salary, unless you've got a salary that makes it worthwhile, you're simply not going to make that choice. It would be financially no good for your family. You're not going to put your family into debt to do that. Is there, Harriet, we've seen obviously teachers going on strike and different areas going on strike. Is that something that could ever impact the nursery daycare sector, do you think?
Well, considering we are funded by public sector money, we're just not in a situation where we can strike even if we wanted to. So, there's no safety net to catch us and take care of the bills that we have to pay, that aren't wages, even if our staff themselves would give up their wages in order to strike. We do our absolute best for our staff, and they know that, but we are shackled by the unaffordability of our funding, the compounding pressures of a recruitment crisis on our existing staff, and, for some, enough is enough. So, in contrast to those striking teachers, they're on starting salaries way higher than those who are qualified in our sector and make our sector go round, but we can't strike.
Harriet Pacey, Director at Tops Day Nurseries. They've got settings right the way across the south coast, Hampshire, Dorset and the Isle of Wight. 7.